Salut tout le monde et bienvenue au balado d'Avant-Match, le podcast. Mon nom est Joey Alfieri. What's up everybody? Joey Alfieri here for the Montreal Alouettes on the Pregame podcast. We're with you for the next little while. Get you ready for the Montreal Alouettes and Hamilton Tiger Cats. I remind you that as we navigate through the waters of this podcast, that the first half of the podcast is in French, the second half is in English. Donc, c'est un balado bilingue. On va commencer en français. Et on va terminer en anglais. Et notre entrevue cette semaine, en anglais, est avec le secondaire intérieur Darnell Sankey. So we will be talking to middle linebacker Darnell Sankey in just a couple of minutes. But like I said, we will start in French as we get you ready for the Alouettes and Tiger Cats Friday night from Tim Hortons Field. La dernière fois que les Alouettes ont joué au Tim Hortons Field, écoute, mon plus beau souvenir professionnel à vie, le fait que les Alouettes, pas seulement que les Alouettes ont gagné la Coupe Grey au mois de novembre passé, mais c'était aussi, euh, c'était aussi la manière dont les Alouettes ont gagné ce match-là. Plein de drames. Et c'est drôle, c'est pour ça une des raisons pour laquelle je voulais parler à Darnell Sankey, ou j'ai pensé à parler à Darnell Sankey, c'est que tout le monde se souvient l'attrapé de Cole Speaker, la passe de toucher à Philpott pour donner l'avance aux Alouettes, avec, je pense qu'il restait 13 secondes, la course de Cody Fajardo sur deuxième et 18. Donc, il y a beaucoup de beaux souvenirs, mais ce que le monde qui ont une tendance à oublier, je comprends, mais sur deuxième essai, l'avant-dernière séquence à l'attaque des Bombers, ce qui a mené à un botté de dégagement, c'était un sac du corps de Darnell Sankey qui a forcé un dégagement. Les Alouettes ont repris le ballon et c'est là que Philpott a marqué le toucher. Mais c'est quand même un gros moment qu'on oublie. On a tendance à oublier parce qu'il y a tellement de gros jeux qui se sont passés après le sac de Sankey que des fois on oublie. Mais écoute, il va être notre invité, mais ça, écoute, c'est tout un moment spécial. Comme j'ai dit, c'est de ma carrière en tant qu'employé. N'importe où j'ai travaillé, c'est le plus beau souvenir de voir les Alouettes, l'équipe de mon enfance, remporter une Coupe Grey après 13 ans, après 13 ans de difficultés. Et là, le fait que je travaille pour cette équipe-là, c'était un moment spécial. Et pour les partisans aussi, j'imagine que c'est quand même c'est très spécial de gagner un championnat, mais de planter Toronto, d'en gagner 8 de suite après la Coupe Grey, de battre Winnipeg qui était, écoute, eux autres sont allés, ça fait 4 Coupes Grey de suite en ligne pour les Bombers. Donc, c'est quand même pour moi, les 4 dernières années, c'était la meilleure équipe de la Ligue. Mais c'est quand même un souvenir, c'est quelque chose que j'oublierai jamais. Et là, le fait, je pense pas que les joueurs vont penser nécessairement à ça, quand ils embarquent sur le terrain ou quand ils arrivent au stade, je pense pas que les joueurs vont penser, au fait que c'est ici on a gagné la Coupe Grey. Mais moi, je vais me permettre de penser de cette façon-là parce que honnêtement, c'est vraiment un beau souvenir. Il y a eu des hauts, évidemment, des bas aussi dans ce match-là. Mais première visite au Tim Hortons Field depuis que les Alouettes ont gagné la Coupe Grey, je pense que c'était le 19 novembre, si je me trompe pas. Et la Coupe Grey cette année à Vancouver aura lieu le 17, si je me trompe pas. Donc ça s'en vient à grands pas. Évidemment, semaine 9, les Alouettes ont une fiche de 6 victoires, une défaite. Et on a remporté le match la semaine passée. Évidemment, il faut parler de ce match-là et du fait que Davis Alexander a vraiment bien fait. Là. C'est vraiment une grosse performance. Tu rentres à la mi-temps, c'est 16-3 et je pense qu'il a fini le match 15 en 18 pour 170 verges, 2 passes de toucher, tous les deux à Reggie White. Donc, c'est quand même spécial de voir ce qu'il a fait parce que, oui, je sais que c'est sa 3e année dans la Ligue canadienne de football, mais c'est un gars qui a joué un tout petit peu, mais il n'a pas nécessairement joué dans des situations de haute pression. Si on regarde 2022, sa première année, il a joué une partie. C'était-tu la deuxième mi-temps? Ouais, c'était la deuxième mi-temps. C'est Dom Davis qui a amorcé le match, le dernier match de la saison régulière à Toronto parce que les Alouettes ne pouvaient pas avancer dans le classement. Ils étaient 2e dans l'Est. Donc, Dom Davis a joué et Davis Alexander a joué aussi. Une performance correcte. Tu sais, c'était pas mauvais, c'était pas incroyable non plus. L'an passé, si je me trompe pas, Davis Alexander avait joué à Winnipeg vraiment tard lors du quatrième quart parce que les Bombers avaient marqué 40 quelques points. Donc, on a enlevé Fajardo et on a mis Davis Alexander pour les 5, 6, 7 dernières minutes. Et il a joué contre le dernier match de la saison, encore une fois. C'était contre les Tiger Cats cette fois-ci parce que les Alouettes ne pouvaient pas euh, avancer dans le classement. Mais je veux comment est-ce que je peux décrire ça? C'est pas que c'est pas, tu sais, à chaque fois que tu embarques sur le terrain, c'est une situation haute pression, mais c'est pas la même chose que lorsque tu arrives dans un match puis il faut absolument gagner à tout prix. Donc, tu sais, la performance la semaine passée, c'était quand même spectaculaire. On a vu que Davis Alexander a pris des bonnes décisions avec le ballon. Écoute, c'est des boulets de canon qu'il lance. C'est clairement son bras est clairement le plus puissant de l'équipe et probablement une c'est lui qui, il y a quand même des carrières qui peuvent lancer le ballon assez loin dans la Ligue canadienne de football, mais pour un gars qui mesure 6 pieds, d'habitude, quand tu vois des gars qui peuvent lancer le ballon assez loin, je pense à l'ancien corps arrière des Argonauts de Toronto, Michael Bishop. Lui, il avait un canon pour un bras, mais il était quand même un peu plus costaud, un peu plus grand que Davis Alexander. Si tu penses même dans la NFL, Jamarcus Russell, l'ancien premier choix au total des Raiders, lui, il avait tout un bras, mais c'est un gars qui était immense. Donc, c'est quand même rare de voir des gars, je veux pas dire qu'il est petit parce que Davis Alexander est pas petit, à 6 pieds, t'es pas petit, mais pour un corps arrière partant ou pour un corps arrière en général, 6 pieds, c'est quand même petit. Et de voir la rapidité de sa balle rapide est quand même folle. Et c'est vraiment ça, je le savais, ça m'a pas surpris. Ça fait 3 ans que je le vois pratiquer, que j'écoute des pratiques des Alouettes à tous les jours. Et ça, je l'ai vu, mais des fois, tu arrives dans une situation de match, tu es un peu plus timide, tu es moins confiant peut-être parce que tu n'affrontes pas une défensive, ta propre défensive, mais honnêtement, on n'a pas senti ça aucunement de la part de Davis Alexander. C'était quand même incroyable de voir que ce gars-là a joué à ce niveau-là parce que il n'y a pas beaucoup d'expérience. Là, c'est sûr que ça change des choses. Le fait que c'est lui qui va être le partant du début. C'est sûr que là, les Tiger Cats ont plus de bandes vidéo à regarder. Sur Davis Alexander, on a des choses un peu plus récentes aussi. Donc, des corps arrière qui ont bien joué pendant un match ou deux, on le voit tout le temps. Je pense pas que ça va être le cas pour Davis Alexander parce que c'est quand même un joueur très talentueux. Il a 25 ans, il va avoir 26 au mois d'octobre. Donc, toujours jeune, toujours un gros potentiel. Écoute, le premier camp d'entraînement où je l'ai vu, je me suis dit, OK, ce gars-là a vraiment des chances. Mais c'était la même chose pour Caleb Evans. Moi, je pense que les trois, je l'ai tweeté l'an passé après que Fajardo et Evans ont signé. Et je sais que c'est pas une performance idéale de Caleb Evans l'autre soir, mais il faut que j'avoue que je pense pas que c'est seulement la faute du corps arrière, ce qui s'est passé lors de la première mi-temps. Et moi, je pense que les deux jeunes corps arrière que les Alouettes ont, ils peuvent devenir partants. Ils sont quand même assez jeunes, ils peuvent développer en partant éventuellement dans cette ligue. Et évidemment, on sait que Cody Fajardo, c'est clairement un partant. Là. C'est le joueur le plus utile de la Coupe Grey déjà. Donc, moi, je pense que pour vrai, je pense que les Alouettes ont, euh, en termes de profondeur, je pense que les Alouettes de 1 à 3, même avec James Morgan, si tu veux compter Morgan, on ne l'a pas vu encore, mais de 1 à 4, je pense que les Alouettes ont la meilleure profondeur quand ça vient au corps arrière dans cette ligue. Parce que honnêtement, je vois vraiment du gros potentiel avec tous ces joueurs-là. Donc, vraiment une belle performance, une belle opportunité pour Davis Alexander vraiment de se faire valoir. Euh, mais moi, j'ai bien aimé, j'ai bien apprécié ce qu'il a amené à cette équipe-là parce que, en anglais, on dit il a donné un spark à son groupe, mais même l'unité défensive, en parlant à des joueurs défensifs dans l'émission d'après-match que vous pouvez écouter sur Facebook, sur Twitter, sur YouTube, sur Instagram. Euh, les joueurs défensifs ont dit ils ont ressenti, c'est c'est un coup de pied dans le cul. Comme on dit, quand tu reçois vraiment un bon, du bon, quand l'attaque joue assez bien, écoute, 3 passes incomplètes pour Davis Alexander. Il y en a une ou deux de ceux-là, ça, qui n'étaient même pas sa faute. Euh, mais c'est vraiment ça qui m'a impressionné. C'est une performance impressionnante. Et j'ai vraiment hâte de voir parce que oui, je sais que les Tiger Cats ont une fiche de 2-5, ils ont gagné 2 de suite, mais gagner des matchs au Tim Hortons Field, c'est pas facile. C'est pas facile de gagner là-bas. La foule est hostile. Donc, je sais que les Alouettes ont eu bien du succès contre les Tiger Cats récemment. Je pense qu'ils n'ont pas perdu contre les Tiger Cats depuis le 28 juillet 2022. Ça fait 7 victoires de suite si on inclut les playoffs contre les Tiger Cats. Donc, c'est quand même 5 victoires en saison régulière de suite. 7 si tu comptes les deux demi-finales de l'Est les 2 dernières années. Donc, ils ont eu bien du succès. À un certain point, c'est clair que les Tiger Cats vont gagner. Moi, je pense pas que c'est cette année. J'espère que non. Mais de battre une équipe 2 fois back-à-back, c'est sûr que c'est compliqué. C'est ça qui s'en vient pour les Alouettes. Ils vont affronter les Tiger Cats vendredi à Hamilton et le samedi suivant à Montréal. Donc, c'est quand même une belle situation. On a vu cette semaine que Cody Fajardo a été retiré de la liste des blessés de 6 matchs. Je vous dirais que je pense que ça l'a... je sais, je l'ai expliqué la semaine passée un peu, mais on va le réexpliquer si vous l'avez manqué. On peut retirer un joueur de la liste des blessés de 6 matchs quand on veut. C'est juste que s'il manque les 6 matchs au complet, euh, son salaire ne compte pas sur la masse salariale pour ces 6 matchs-là. Si on le place sur la liste des blessés de 6 matchs et qu'on le retire avant il manque 6 matchs, là, c'est sûr que la masse salariale va compter tout le long, même les matchs qu'il ne joue pas. Donc, dans cette situation-là, c'est clair et aussi, tu n'as pas le droit de pratiquer si tu es sur la liste des blessés de 6 matchs avant que tu manques 4 games. Donc, on ne pouvait pas, même s'il se sentait mieux, Cody Fajardo ne pouvait pas pratiquer cette semaine parce qu'il a manqué seulement un match s'il n'était pas retiré sur la liste des blessés des 6 matchs. Donc, clairement, sa réhabilitation va bien parce qu'on l'a enlevé de la liste des blessés des 6 matchs. Je pense pas qu'on va le voir cette semaine. J'imagine que non. Mais c'est très possible que dans les prochaines semaines, il sera en mesure de jouer. Donc, je ne sais pas si ça va être le prochain match à Hamilton, contre Hamilton, excuse-moi, ou le match d'après à Regina, ce qui serait intéressant parce que l'an passé, les Alouettes ont joué contre les Rough Riders seulement une fois. Et c'était à Montréal et Cody n'a pas joué. Évidemment, la semaine passée, contre son ancienne équipe, il n'a pas joué non plus. Donc, le 16 août, c'est la dernière chance, à moins que ces deux équipes s'affrontent en finale de la Coupe Grey ou dans les matchs éliminatoires. Mais il n'a jamais affronté son ancienne équipe depuis qu'il est membre des Alouettes. Donc, c'est quand même intéressant, mais c'est clair que les Alouettes sont confiants qu'il ne va pas manquer 5 autres matchs. Donc, que ce soit Regina, que ce soit c'est-tu Edmonton après? Que ce soit contre les Elks, c'est clair qu'il ne va pas manquer les 6 matchs, sinon on l'aurait laissé sur la liste des blessés des 6 matchs. Donc, c'est quand même intéressant de voir tout ça, que tout ça est arrivé seulement après un match. Pour moi, c'est bon signe de voir que la blessure à Cody est moins sérieuse dont on pensait. Mais c'est sûr que l'opportunité revient à Davis Alexander. All right. So we'll switch over to English now. We've got some fan questions that we're going to get to. We talked a little bit about Davis Alexander's performance last week and how Cody Fajardo came off the 6-game injured list a little early. I did want to mention something about the defense before we get to our interview with Darnell Sankey. Nobody's talking about it because Davis Alexander's performance, and rightfully so, garnered a lot of attention. But the defense gave up nothing in the second half, 0 points. They did a better job on the ground. They limited the amount of rushing yards that the Rough Riders were able to garner. And then obviously the offense gave them a shot in the arm, but the defense still has to go out there and perform at a very high level. And I thought that they did that, especially in the second half. So, you got to give credit to this unit. Without Sean Lemon, I know there's some guys that are working their way back from injury, guys like Wes Sutton, guys like Marc-Antoine Dequoy, who are just coming back. So, they've been without Reggie Stubblefield, and they're going to be without Reggie Stubblefield going forward. But to me, I think it's one of those things where you have to give this defensive unit credit because they played so well, especially in that second half. And they've been really dominant all year. And it's not easy to play defense in the Canadian Football League. I think we all know that. But to me, it was really impressive to see. And one of the guys leading the charge on defense all season long has been middle linebacker Darnell Sankey. And here is my interview with Darnell Sankey. So, Sank, walk me through, this matchup against a quarterback that you're very familiar with, and Bo Levi Mitchell, and they've been better. They've won back-to-back games. I'm just curious what your mindset is going into this one with a pretty strong second half that you guys had.
Yeah, Bo is a veteran quarterback. We expect to come out there and try to control the offense, play his style of game. He's a smart player. He wants to utilize his weapons. So, I think us as a defense, we just got to make sure that we stay true to our assignments, fit where we need to fit, and just play our type of ball. I think the results will be in our favor.
All right, tell me something about Bo Levi Mitchell that I wouldn't know because I never played with him.
Something about Bo Levi that you will never coach. You haven't played with him.
Because you guys had a year together, only a year because the COVID year was the first time.
Yeah. Something that the general public, you're assuming.
Like I've never been in a locker room with them. Do you want to come back to it? Do you want to give it some thought?
Let's come back to that.
All right, let's come back to it. Sacramento State, tell me something about the campus there that I wouldn't know if I'd never been.
Yeah, Sacramento State is probably one of the best campuses in the world.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Sac State is an amazing university, amazing school. It's really beautiful, too. A lot of trees, a lot of good scenery. I know they remodeled a lot of it. It's always on the rising. Like, there's a lot of new things that they're doing. They're building a new football stadium, I believe, within the coming 10 years or so, a new basketball facility. It's an amazing campus. They call Sacramento City of Trees. So it's a really beautiful campus. If you go check it out, it's really nice.
How many signatures on a petition do you think it would take to get this football field named Sankey Field or something like that? You made an impact while you were there.
Yeah, it would take a lot. I'm sure a lot of signatures and a heavy donation.
I'm gonna get on there. You can handle the donation part. I'll handle the signatures. How did you settle on Sac? Because I know you're a Bay guy, but did you settle on Sac State after the visit, or was it more, was it the football aspect of it?
Yeah, I had a good amount of interest in my high school football career, but I had no offers. So actually,
I had no offers.
Yeah, I had no offers. Crazy. Yeah, I had 0 offers, and I had a lot of interest by some Pac-12 schools. But no one offered me. So when summer came, I was getting ready to go to a junior college. I was actually about to go to De Anza Junior College. And then Sacramento State came in the summer and offered me a full ride in the summer. Mm-hmm. I guess something happened with one of their guys. I don't know. But they had a scholarship open up, and they offered me. And I played as a true freshman, and then the rest is history. Yeah, that's
How'd you start playing football, out of curiosity? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, so I was always a basketball player. Come from a basketball family. My dad played basketball at San Jose State. Mm-hmm. My sister played at Cal State East Bay. My brother played at Lipscomb University. So a basketball family. My mom didn't play basketball. She ran track. And I was just always interested in football as a kid, but I never played it because I was always afraid to be injured for basketball. And then my sophomore year, the linebacker coach, Marcus Reese, he was a linebacker for the Bears and the Niners back in the day. He was in my ear at my school, just like, you should come out for a football team. You should come out for a football team. And I always kind of blew him off for the whole year. And then going into my junior year, he said the same thing. Like, you should come out for football. You should come out for football. And I came out, and he kind of took me, under his wing, I would say, and he kind of mentored me and really taught me the game at linebacker. And, I started and did very well my junior year, had a lot of interest.
And, so you didn't play football until junior year of high school. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out I know how to, what football is, but the nuances of playing linebacker in football?
I would say maybe a year.
Really?
The first year I was just playing all off instinct and just running to the ball. I was at Branham High School in San Jose. I used to just run to the ball and hit and just try to make plays. He really did a lot to try to teach me the game, because to play linebackers, you got to be a whole different level, and you got to be very smart also. So that was one thing he really worked with me with, because obviously I was such a late bloomer to the football scene. Probably, I would say about a year.
Rank the athletes in your family for me, 1 through 5. I guess you guys are 5, right?
My immediate. So my
your immediate family.
Yeah. So my brother is technically my dad's son. Okay. So I didn't really grow up with him. Mm-hmm. So I'll just go off like the people I grew up with.
Sure. Are you in the top 3? Like, do you get on the podium or what?
I'm in the top 3. My mom is athletic, but I don't think she makes the top 3.
Wow.
I don't think.
Those are some fighting words.
She's athletic though. But my sister is very athletic. I would say us 3 are at the top.
So who's the 3?
Me, my mom. Me and my sister and my dad are probably the top 3. And my mom is fighting. She's fighting to get
crazy.
there. She's fighting to
That's crazy. Was there were you always this is a silly question, but were you always a guy that didn't mind, getting hit or hitting or being the hammer? Because basketball, there's contact in basketball, but it's not the same.
I was always fouling out.
You were always fouling out?
Yeah, I was fouling out.
Seriously?
I was fouling out all the time. And that's kind of how I think my football career kind of started. I was fouling out a lot and fouling, but just wham, just hacking, and the linebacker coach was like, I got a spot for you on the football team, and that's how it started. I always, I think I've always liked to hit, but I like to make plays. Yeah. Because when you hit a lot, obviously your body takes a lot of punishment too. And at the end of the day, it's a tackle. It doesn't matter. So unless you knock the ball out or something, so. As I get older, I'm starting to understand, I really understood when I got to the league. It wasn't just about tackles. It was about making plays, so.
Could you describe what your body feels like after a game, like the day or 2 following the game? And I'm sure it's different as you've gotten older, but just a guy who plays so physical, who, I think you average like 6 or 7 tackles a game. Like, what does the body feel like after playing middle linebacker in this league?
Yeah, you're definitely sore, definitely fatigued, but I really believe in my training. I believe in my off-season training and my program and my in-season training as well. So I think that really limits the fatigueness after the game, because I really take a lot of time to make sure my body is ready, and ready to go sideline to sideline and run and hit. So it's like. I have a really good training group outside of here, back home, that really inspires me and just keeps me motivated to go. So, I'm exhausted. Don't get me wrong after the game, and the next day I'm definitely beat up. But I feel like without that and without me training multiple times a week outside of practice, I feel like it would be a lot worse. So,
14 tackles away from 300. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I didn't know.
If I could tell you, you single out one tackle. If I just think of you, let's limit it to your time in the CFL. If there's one tackle that means the most to you.
One tackle.
Because I have one, but I don't know if you'll agree with me.
One tackle that means the most to me. There's definitely one from this year I could think about.
The Jalen Ackland one.
Yeah, that was definitely. That was definitely one of them. I feel like that is definitely in my head from this year.
Is that the hardest you've ever hit someone?
No.
What's the hardest you've ever hit someone? And then I'll tell you what my tackle of yours is.
The hardest That was definitely a hard hit. Don't get me wrong. But the hardest I ever hit somebody was probably probably in college. Honestly, probably in college.
Can you see the fear though from the guy? Like when they know, like the running back knows, all right, I gotta go. I see Sankey, and you're looking at him. Can you see that?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys will try to psych themselves out. I think that once I hit him or not, I think once you implement fear into somebody, like they really show it. I think early game, I think a lot of running backs will try to be like, I'm good. Like they don't care who I am. Yeah. Of course they're going to talk mess or they're going to, they may hit me head up, but if you get hit up a couple times, you're not going to keep doing that. They're not going to keep running that way. And then that's when I think I start to see they kind of turn a little early or they kind of go down or they're not just putting their head down and just Nah, they're not doing that all game.
Do you think you know what my favorite tackle of yours was? And I'll give you a clue. You didn't even bring the guy to the ground.
I didn't bring him to the ground.
You didn't even bring him to the ground.
He broke it?
No, he didn't break. It was a tackle.
No, I don't.
The sack in the Grey Cup on Caleros.
Oh,
that was my favorite one.
Oh, really?
Well, that's the one that set up the drive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probly one of the most important ones of your career because if you don't get the sack there, there might not be a Grey Cup last year.
That was definitely. I look at that as a sack though.
What's a tackle?
It is a tackle, yeah. But I differentiate the two. You
went straight for who did I hit the hardest, and I went straight for most important in the outcome of the game.
There was a hit I had in Calgary, in 2021 against Montreal. I forgot who the receiver was, but that was another very hard hit I had. I remember that specifically.
Okay.
He was catching a swing and he cut in, and it was against Montreal. It was against Montreal.
Okay. Well. I don't remember, but lastly, Bo Levi, do you have anything you can give me? Have you thought about it a little bit more?
Yeah, I would say...
even if it's a funny story. It could be
not
whatever.
Not necessarily a funny story, but I think that a lot of people may underestimate, how funny he is. I think a lot of times, pro quarterbacks, they kind of get the rap that, it's all business, it's all football. But he's a really funny dude. If you just talk to him one-on-one, or in the locker room, he's messing around and just having fun, and it kind of makes you look at him more I guess human, for lack of a better word. I think quarterbacks, like I said, sometimes they get the rap they're just football, right. But it's he's a really funny dude, I think. So, I'm going to definitely holler at him before the game, but, once some pads come on, it's, it is what it is.
Thanks for the second.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so Bo Levi Mitchell, a former teammate of Darnell Sankey's, is a funny dude, apparently. All right. I'm trying to think if I ever had any interaction, even as a reporter, before joining the Alouettes. I don't know that I've ever actually spoken to Bo Levi Mitchell. I know typically Bo Levi hasn't had his best games in Montreal. I know he's won games here. Hasn't necessarily had his best games in Montreal, but he's coming off a really nice performance last week in Edmonton on Sunday. Threw 5 touchdown passes and a win over the Elks, and now all of a sudden Hamilton is feeling confident. They won back-to-back games. They beat the Argos 2 weeks ago. They beat the Elks. But this is going to be a tough task. We mentioned it in French. The Owls have won 7 in a row against the Ticats. They haven't lost since July the 28th, 2022. To Hamilton. That's both in Montreal and in Hamilton. But, look, all streaks come to an end at some point. I'm really hoping that it's not going to be this week or next. But listen, the Tiger Cats have been playing some better football. I know they turned the ball over a lot early on in the season. Took Bo Levi Mitchell and Tim Wine a little bit of time to get their themselves on the same page. But the Tiger Cats are definitely playing better. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of challenge they provide the Alouettes on Friday night and then the Saturday following. Of course, it is going to be a bit of a tricky situation. I know the same thing happened to Montreal just a couple weeks ago, but Hamilton played on Sunday night in Edmonton, had to fly back. Landed in Hamilton early Monday morning, and so they had a short week. They're going to play on Friday night. So Sunday to Friday, when you're traveling from out west, it's definitely not easy to get your body right and to do that. But again, like we said, even when the Alouettes did it, everybody's got to do it at some point. So It'll be very interesting to see what the Tiger Cats look like when they take the field. But that is really none of my concerns. I'm more worried about how the Alouettes look like. And it looks like the Alouettes, there really aren't going to be a ton of changes to this lineup. It looks like they came out of the last game relatively healthy as you can in a football game. All right, we're gonna wrap things up here with some fan questions. I know a lot of you. I went through this on Twitter, asked some questions, and we have time to answer a couple of them. And I thought there was a couple that were interesting. So you can tweet me anytime at Joey Alfieri. You can find me on Instagram at Joey_Alfieri or on Facebook. Just search my name. And you can ask me a question whenever you like, but we threw it out there on Twitter, looking for some fan questions, some fan reaction, and we got some. So the first question here comes from Normand Rago, who says, "Hi, Joey, can you provide any information you have on Jonathan Sutherland?" Look, I think like a lot of the NFL guys, if you're not aware, the Alouettes draft pick, the first round pick in 2023, he's a linebacker / defensive back, Jonathan Sutherland out of Penn State. He's a kid who grew up in Ottawa. Was drafted before Lual Uguak. Montreal drafted Sutherland 5th overall. They drafted Uguak 7th overall. This past week, Sutherland was cut by the Seattle Seahawks. He hasn't signed anywhere as of right now. We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. We'll see what happens. Typically, I'll say this about guys who get cut, and Nathan Rourke is kind of going through the same thing. It's a little bit different because he's a quarterback. But the interesting thing is that the NFL have big rosters, but their rosters are full right now. I mean, training camps are just getting underway. So to pick up somebody who's been cut by another team, like you really have to go out there and like that player. So I don't know what's going on. I would imagine, for a guy who was on an injury settlement last year in Seattle, he's going to take his time and he's going to look to see, maybe work out for an NFL team or two. He's going to look and see exactly what's going on. If any NFL team, has an injury to a safety or a DB, if they're looking to bring him in. But as of right now, if you get cut early in training camp in the NFL, it's kind of hard to latch on somewhere else. So I think it's wait and see right now. But the other thing you need to remember is that in Seattle, they made a coaching change in the offseason. So Pete Carroll is no longer the head coach out in Seattle. So it's a different regime now with Mike McDonald, formerly of the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. So, he's going to have his own guys that he, undrafted free agents that he's going to want to take a look at. And so, unfortunately, we're rooting for Jonathan Sutherland to make the NFL. If it doesn't work out for him, then obviously I think the Alouettes will want him with open arms because he's a great player. He clearly showed that at Penn State. But it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I think you just got to wait. You got to see if there's any other NFL interest. And then if there isn't, it's up to him does he want to wait and sit and wait for another opportunity, or does he want to come to Canada as quick as possible? I think, if you look at the mainstream media, I think most people right now are reporting that Nathan Rourke is kind of going to wait it out. I don't know what the situation is with Jonathan Sutherland. I just know he's a heck of a player. He definitely has NFL talent, but we'll see if he winds up in Montreal. But good question from Normand. Casey is asking at Joey Alfieri, which player/players have been the biggest surprise so far? It's a good question. I follow the team really, really closely, so it's kind of hard to surprise me. I have an idea of who I think is going to perform or not. I'm going to give you two names, and these players have not surprised me in that traditional sense that I didn't know they were good. It's just that they were both coming off injury. They're both veterans. And, I was curious to see, how their bodies would respond. One is Reggie White Jr. I mean, it was a massive knee injury. I mean, it's clear he suffered it in October 2022, missed the end of that season, missed all of 2023, and has come back and has really looked good. Missed the first game of this year, but he's really looked good. He already has two multi-touchdown games this season. He posted 61 yards last week. He's a guy who's really performed at a nice level, especially with Tyler Snead out, with Austin Mack gone. Keon Julian Grant is out now. He's on the 6-game injured list. I feel like we haven't even seen the old Reggie White yet, but it's only been a handful of games. And I still feel like he's looked really, really good for a guy who didn't play football for more than a year. So, the fact that he's been so productive, so good, and so reliable for all three Montreal quarterbacks is telling to me. So I'm not surprised that Reggie White's good. I just wanted to see it post-injury, and we've seen it. And the other guy, I don't think he's getting any love. I thought he was playing really well last year at Sam linebacker. Suffered an injury, I'll never forget, in late July against Calgary. But Najee Murray, I feel like Najee Murray's been really good. He's one of the longest tenured Alouettes right now, probably the longest tenured one on defense. And again, he had suffered an injury last year, missed the rest of the regular season. I think he must have played about 6 games. Missed the regular season, the end of the regular season, but was back around the group at Grey Cup time, was there, was there to support the group. Just a really good guy. And again, I'm not surprised that he's playing well. I just wanted to see it post-injury. And so far, I don't even know that he's even really been beat over the top for a big play. If he has, it doesn't jump out at me in any way. So, I really like those two guys, but I'm not surprised that they're good. I was in wait and see mode to see how these older guys would look after injuries, major injuries that cost them a lot of time. So thank you for the question, Casey. We've got time for one more. Rob is asking, who's the future at quarterback for the Alouettes? Is it Davis Alexander or a guy not even on the roster? Look, Rob, I wish I had the crystal ball to tell you. To answer that question, I really think that, Caleb Evans and Davis Alexander, I feel like both guys have the potential to develop into starting quarterbacks. I really do. James Morgan is a guy I don't really know too well yet, just because the only time I've really seen him was in the second half of a preseason game against Ottawa, and I thought he looked sharp. He's a former 4th-round pick of the Jets, so that there's some ability there for sure. I haven't seen enough, so I couldn't tell you. But with the other guys, I think that those guys are still young enough that they can get even better. So is it Alexander? I don't know. Is it Evans? I don't know. What I do know is that Fajardo's playing at a pretty high level. I don't know if he's playing the best football of his career, but it's pretty darn close. And he's only in his early 30s. I think Cody's only 32. So there's plenty of time left. I think there's still some racetrack. But in football, things change in a hurry. But, even from a quarterback, a developmental standpoint, it's just, it's hard to say because there's no, if you finish last in the CFL, you can't draft first overall a quarterback who's going to alter your franchise for the most part. I know Nathan Rourke went in the draft, but just, and I know Curtis Rourke is available. I know Jonathan Senecal is going to be available in the coming draft. But to me, it's just you don't every year go out there and draft a guy who can alter your franchise. You have to go out and you have to find that guy. You have to go and work hard and find guys either in the NCAA or in the NFL that could perform at that high of a level. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure who the quarterback of the future is. I really like the guys that they have in-house now, but things change so fast that you don't know exactly. So I think they've got some talented dudes right now. I think Cody has a lot of racetrack left. I don't think he's done by any stretch of the imagination. He's in great shape and he's playing really, really well. I think he's very close to, if not at the same level as the Cody Fajardo we saw in 2019 when he was CFL All-Star and a Saskatchewan Roughriders starting quarterback. I think he's playing at that high of a level right now. I love the decision making. I love what he's doing. So to me, it's hard to kind of envision the future, especially in the CFL, because things they change so quickly. Again, like look at Cody. If I would have told you when he was in his mid to late 20s in 2019 that he wouldn't be the Saskatchewan Roughriders quarterback after a pandemic and after a year of being injured, people would have thought I was crazy because he played that well. But that's just the way this league works. Football injuries happen and things change, and maybe you discover a quarterback who nobody knows yet, but a guy who just lights it up when he gets here. So it's honestly impossible to say. I can just tell you I really like the stable of quarterbacks that they have in Montreal, and I'm confident that if it's not someone from the outside, I think that there is at least one guy in-house who can develop into something. Hope that answers your question. Thank you for the question. That's all the time we have for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed this pregame podcast. Merci tout le monde. Merci d'être à l'écoute. Merci pour les questions, les commentaires. On apprécie chacune d'entre vous qui écoutent le balado. J'aimerais juste souligner le fait qu'après chaque match, même sur la route, j'y vais sur la route avec les joueurs et les entraîneurs et on a une émission d'après-match à chaque semaine. Donc, aussitôt que le match est terminé, donnez-moi 5 minutes pour installer ma caméra et on va parler aux joueurs. Si on gagne, si on perd, on parle aux joueurs, on parle aux coachs. Et on fera de l'analyse du match contre les Tiger Cats. Donc, ça commence à 19h30, si je me trompe pas. Le match contre les... oui, exactement. 19h30, le match à Hamilton. Donc, ça veut dire que le match va finir vers 10h30 le soir. Donc, donnez-moi, jusqu'à 10h35, 10h40, on va embarquer en direct sur toutes les plateformes en ligne des Alouettes et on va faire vraiment une belle émission d'après-match ensemble. Toujours bilingue. Mais on a toujours du fun. Donc, laissez vos commentaires là-bas aussi. On répond à des questions. Si vous avez des questions pour un joueur, on va poser les questions aux joueurs aussi. Donc, soyez à l'écoute. Si vous n'avez pas vos billets pour le match du 10, vous pouvez visiter le goalsgo.com pour avoir plus de détails. On a besoin de vous. On a besoin de votre support. Encore une fois, la semaine passée contre les Rough Riders, la foule était tellement bruyante. Je ne sais pas si vous avez vu l'entrevue d'après-match de Corey Mace, l'entraîneur-chef des Riders de la Saskatchewan, qui a avoué, il a dit « On s'attendait pas à une foule tellement bruyante à Montréal un jeudi soir. » Donc, ça complique la vie pour les équipes adverses quand vous êtes là et quand vous faites du bruit, quand la défensive des Alouettes est sur le terrain. Merci tout le monde. Bonne fin de semaine. Bon match. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the game on Friday night, and we'll be back next weekend.